Travis Scott walked into a studio, smiled, played his new track, and left out one thing: the part where Drake dissed Pharrell. And he did it in Pharrell's own studio. That's not just petty, that's a declaration. Hip-hop beefs usually start with a diss, but this one started with a silence. What seemed like a friendly visit turned into a full-blown war, not just over music, but over loyalty, betrayal, and a code that runs deeper than fame or chart positions. This isn't just another rap feud. This is the moment Pusha T decided to burn the bridge and expose everything he felt Travis Scott had been hiding for years. And it all started in Paris, inside one of the most legendary studios in hip-hop history.
Section 1. The Code of Hip-Hop Loyalty. In hip-hop, there's an unspoken code, and breaking it has consequences. It's not written in contracts, it's not posted on social media, but every real one in the game knows it. You ride for the people who ride for you. You don't cross lines, and you definitely don't smile in someone's face while plotting with their enemies behind their back. For an artist like Pusha T, who built his entire legacy on realness and loyalty, that code isn't just a suggestion, it's law. It's what defines credibility in a culture where clout fades but reputation lasts forever. He's not the type to chase attention or stir up drama for clicks. But when the code gets broken, he's not the type to stay quiet either. Now, here's where it gets deep. Pharrell Williams isn't just a producer or a collaborator. He's family to Pusha T. He helped put Clips on the map, shaped their sound, and stood by them since the early 2000s. When you step into a studio that Pharrell built, a place that holds decades of shared history, you're stepping into sacred ground. So when Travis Scott came through that Paris studio, laughed with the team, shared his new music, and deliberately skipped over a track that featured Drake dissing Pharrell, that wasn't just disrespect. That was betrayal. In any other setting, maybe it would have gone unnoticed. But in hip-hop, where every move speaks louder than words, that silence hit different. And for Pusha, that move didn't just break trust. It exposed something deeper, a pattern, a mindset, a total disregard for the code that holds this culture together. To really understand how it all unraveled, we have to go back to where it started. Paris, 2023. Section 2. The Paris Incident. Paris 2023, the city of lights, high fashion, art, power. And on this particular day, the epicenter of one of hip-hop's coldest betrayals. Inside Louis Vuitton's headquarters, something historic was happening. Clips, the legendary duo of Pusha T and his brother Malice, were in the studio for the first time in over a decade. Not just any studio. This was Pharrell's private creative space, where he now served as Louis Vuitton's head of menswear. The energy? Unreal. Decades of history, brotherhood, and chemistry all flowing into what would become their comeback album, Let God Sort Them Out. Pharrell was there, guiding the vision. Laughs were shared, memories resurfaced. The Neptune's magic was back in full swing. It wasn't just a recording session, it was a reunion built on respect. Then came Travis Scott. Now, Travis had a reason to be there. He and Pharrell had been collaborating on Utopia. So when he pulled up to the studio, nobody blinked. He was greeted like family, welcomed, respected. And when he started playing unreleased tracks from Utopia, people listened. But that's when it got shady. One of those tracks was Meltdown. The version Travis played? It was missing something huge. Drake's verse. The same verse that would later drop with the album and fire direct shots at Pharrell himself.
So why leave it out? Why smile in Pharrell's face, chop it up with clips, and then hide the part where your boy dissed the man hosting you? That's not being neutral. That's calculated. And for Pusha T, it wasn't just awkward. It was intentional disrespect, buried beneath smiles and handshakes. The Paris session was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became the trigger, the moment everything started to fall apart.
Section 3. The hidden verse that crossed the line. At first, it just seemed weird. Why would Travis Scott leave out Drake's verse on Meltdown when playing the track in the studio? Especially in front of Pusha T and Pharrell, two people with very specific history with Drake. Then, Utopia dropped, and everything made sense. That missing verse wasn't just some throwaway. It was a direct shot at Pharrell. Drake went after Pharrell's Jupiter auction items, calling out his luxury fashion moves and mocking the very aesthetic that Pharrell had built into a global brand. It wasn't slick. It wasn't coded. It was straight-up disrespect, aimed at a man who had done nothing but elevate hip-hop's image and culture. And Travis? He knew. He knew exactly what was in that verse when he stood in Pharrell's studio, smiled at him, and hit play. He chose to hide the fire while pretending it wasn't there. To Pusha T, that wasn't just a passive move. It was a betrayal wearing designer sneakers. Pharrell wasn't some industry acquaintance. He was family. And Drake had history with both Pusha T and Pharrell. This wasn't neutral ground. Travis was playing in a war zone, pretending to be Switzerland. And here's what really set Pusha T off. Travis acted like nothing was wrong. He left the studio, laughed it off, and dropped Utopia with the full Drake verse. That silence, that deception, in the world Pusha T comes from, it speaks louder than any diss line. It wasn't just that Travis let Drake diss Pharrell, it's that he did it with a smile, a handshake, and a fake sense of respect, then acted like he didn't know better. But Pusha T knew better, and that's when he decided it was time to respond. Section 4. Pusha T breaks the silence. Pusha T didn't explode right away. That's not his style. He sat with it, let it stew, replayed the moment in his head 1,000 times. The handshake, the studio vibe, the track with the missing verse. And the more he thought about it, the more it didn't sit right, because this wasn't Travis Scott's first offense. Pusha started connecting dots. Back in 2018, Sicko Mode dropped, and it featured Drake throwing subtle jabs at Kanye West. Travis didn't just allow it. He rode the wave, let the track explode, and said nothing. Kanye had signed Travis, gave him a platform, gave him everything. And yet, when the shots came flying, Travis played the middle. Then, in 2024, at Rolling Loud, Travis hyped up Kendrick Lamar's now infamous Drake diss during a set with Future and Metro Boomin. He was in the moment, bouncing with the crowd, amplifying a beef that had nothing to do with him again. To Pusha, a pattern was emerging. Travis didn't stand for anything except whatever was hot at the time, whoever had momentum, whoever was trending. Loyalty didn't seem to mean much. Allegiances were just branding tools. And that's what cut deepest. Because in Pusha's world, your name means something. Who you ride for matters. And when you start acting like the code doesn't apply to you, real ones take notice. So this wasn't just about a diss. It was about principles. Travis had crossed a line, not with bars, but with behavior. And for Pusha, that meant one thing. Time to stop talking. Time to start rapping. Section 5. The diss track that shook the culture. When Pusha T finally responded, he didn't tweet. He didn't rant on Instagram. He did what real MCs do. He went to the mic. On June 16, 2025, the world heard it, a track called So Be It. It dropped as part of Clip's long-awaited reunion album, Let God Sort Them Out. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a comeback anthem. It was an assassination in disguise. From the very first bar, Pusha wasn't playing. You cried in front of me. You died in front of me. It wasn't metaphor. It was memory. Insiders claim Travis had an emotional moment during that infamous Paris session, and Pusha turned it into a weapon. Then came the kill shots. Calabasas took your bitch and your pride in front of me. Her Utopia moved right up the street. Each line peeled back layers, mocking Travis's breakup with Kylie, alluding to her independence and dragging Utopia into the crossfire. But the most chilling bar? I got the video. I can share it. AE it. Lucky I ain't TMZ it. Pusha hinted he had footage, possibly humiliating, possibly career-ending. Whether it was real or bluff didn't even matter. In battle rap, the idea is enough to shake the room. So Be It didn't just call Travis out. It ripped through the culture. Not loud, not chaotic, surgical, precise, cold. This wasn't just beef. It was a message. You can play the industry game all you want, but when you break the code, someone's coming for you. And in 2025, that someone was Pusha T. Section 6. Psychological Warfare. The genius of the diss. What made So Be It hit so hard wasn't just the lyrics, it was precision. Pusha T didn't come out swinging wild. He didn't yell or bark over a beat. He struck like a sniper, from distance, with calm, terrifying control. He didn't just insult Travis, he unraveled him. The track worked on multiple levels. On the surface, it was a classic Clips banger, that signature Neptune's bounce, sleek production from Pharrell, and bars that snapped. But underneath, it was a psychological chess match, and Pusha came armed with more than just rhymes. He used Travis's past, his image, his relationships, even his silence against him. Pusha didn't name names constantly. He didn't need to. Fans connected the dots instantly. He made Travis look weak without ever shouting it. That's real power. That's strategy. And the real twist? Pusha left room for doubt. The bars were brutal, but there was always a sliver of plausible deniability. I got the video. He never said what it showed, never proved it, but he didn't have to. The internet filled in the blanks. Travis knew what he meant. So did everyone else. That's what separated So Be It from other diss tracks. It wasn't just bars. It was psychological warfare. And it shook Travis to the core. Because how do you clap back at someone who's 2 steps ahead, already inside your head, and turning your secrets into punchlines? This wasn't just about a verse. It was about domination. And the worst part for Travis? It worked.
Section 7. Travis's clapback, subtle, slick, and commercial. Travis Scott wasn't built for lyrical war, and he knew it. So when So Be It dropped, the world waited to see if Travis would clap back with bars of his own. Would he respond in a freestyle? Go bar for bar? Drop a raw diss track? Nope. He did it his way, subtle, stylish, and market-ready. Just 3 days later, on July 13, 2025, Travis dropped Jack Boys 2, a compilation album from his Cactus Jack label. Buried in the middle was a track called Champagne and Vacay, featuring Don Toliver, and ad-libs from Waka Flocka Flame. And in the middle of the track, a single line that said it all, made 100 off Pusha T's. It was slick, quiet, but for those who knew the culture, it hit. It was a double entendre, referencing both Pusha T's name and his own merch brand. On the surface, he's talking about t-shirts. Underneath, he's saying, "This beef, I'm profiting from it." He followed up with, "Old heads kill me, now my phone on DND," a direct shot at Pusha and his generation.
Travis was brushing it off, framing Pusha as outdated. And the dodging TMZ bar, that was a jab back at Pusha's threat about releasing video footage. Lucky I ain't TMZing. It was Travis's way of saying, I see you, I'm not rattled, and I'm still winning. He didn't play by Pusha's rules. He stayed in his lane, commercial, polished, and unbothered. And while it didn't land like a haymaker, it kept him in the conversation, on his terms.
Section 8. Hip-hop philosophies clash. Loyalty versus legacy. This beef was never just about bars. It was about two visions of hip-hop colliding. On one side, you had Pusha T, born in 1977, raised in the golden era, molded by a code that placed loyalty, lyrical integrity, and authenticity above everything else. In his world, rap isn't just music, it's a creed. Who you associate with matters. What you stand for matters. The unwritten rules, you live by them or you get checked. On the other side, Travis Scott, born in 1991, a product of the streaming era. His focus is sonics, vibes, and commercial dominance. He built his empire on collaboration, spectacle, and mainstream appeal. And in that world, the code doesn't hit the same. The loyalty lines are blurrier. It's not about who you diss, it's about who's trending. And that's where the clash exploded. Pusha looked at Travis and saw a man who stood for nothing. Someone who floated from side to side depending on what was beneficial. Who let Drake diss his mentors. Who hyped up beefs he had no business in. Who played the neutral game while cashing in. To Travis, Pusha probably looked like a relic. A gatekeeper stuck in the past, more concerned with street codes than streaming stats. But that's what made this moment so real. Because this wasn't just about a song in Paris or a diss on an album. It was about what hip-hop is becoming and who gets to decide what matters. Loyalty or legacy? Principle or profit? One thing was certain. Both artists stood their ground, but the culture was left asking who's right, and more importantly, who's next? Conclusion: the lasting impact. In the end, this wasn't just a beef. It was a mirror held up to hip-hop's face. Pusha T and Travis Scott didn't just trade bars, they exposed the two hearts beating inside the culture today. One loyal to the old code, where respect is earned and betrayal is punished. The other racing toward the future, where visibility, virality, and volume often matter more than principles. Both men made their moves. Pusha struck with So Be It, a track as cold and calculated as anything since the story of Adidon. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't scream, he just cut deep and let the silence do the rest. Travis responded his way, slick, low-key, and packaged in luxury production. No direct bars, no confrontation, just a subtle flex in a luxury rapper. But the real impact, it wasn't in the charts, it was in the conversation. This feud brought loyalty back into the spotlight. It forced fans, and even artists, to ask, what do we value now? Bars, respect, or just streams and sales? And maybe that's why it mattered so much. Because for a moment, in the middle of all the algorithms and auto-tune, the streets were talking again. Whether you're Team Pusha or Team Travis, this moment reminded us all of something important. Hip-hop isn't just about sound, it's about stance. And every once in a while, someone's going to test the line between the two. So if you think this story is over, it's not. Because in hip-hop, the silence between tracks, that's just the part where the next shot gets loaded. If you found this breakdown wild, just wait till you hear what's happening behind the scenes in the Kendrick versus Drake war. Tap that like button if you believe loyalty still matters in hip-hop.
Hit subscribe if you're here for the raw truth, not just the headlines. And share this video with someone who still respects the code. Oh, and don't stop here. Click on one of the cards on your screen to dive into more stories that the blogs won't tell you, but the streets already know.